We'd done quite a few renovation projects over the last few decades, but when it came to wanting to do a build here at Omaha, wow, we really needed some help.
Well, we decided to build our holiday home here after living on the site for 25 years, and our old house had just become unlivable. So we approached Keith A. Homes to help us and make our dreams come true.
We'd had one meeting with James and we had started to talk to him about a couple of ideas we had, and he said, well, why don't you come along to the yard and have a look at what's there? And so we headed down to the yard and we picked up on a few cool ideas to start thinking about. So we scheduled another meeting with James and the team at Keith Hay to just ask a few more questions and see how creative we could get around an existing design that they had.
And I think our biggest surprise was how flexible and accommodating everybody at Keith Hay were.
We had really two big parts in our brief that we really wanted to hit. So we wanted to point towards the view, we wanted to get a floor that was higher so you could see more of the view. And then the other thing we wanted to do was get an indoor-outdoor living flow working well. So we gave that brief to the team at Keith Hay and they went away and did their magic.
We decided that the Flinders plan would be the best for our site. We wanted to have an extra wing, a bedroom and a garage. We wanted the big stackers to open up to our view, and that was no problem. We wanted the big garage with a high stud. Also, we wanted to be able to fit out the kitchen ourselves. It was all possible, so we were very pleased. We'd settled on the plan, but no, James even went a bit further. He took it to the architects, and that's when we ended up with what we call the V of the property. So it just made it look so much nicer. We thought we were going to end up with sort of like two Keith A homes side by side joined together, but the architect made it just all work perfectly for our awkward site that we had here. I had always thought that Keith Hay was cookie cutter. You had to get what they showed you on the plan, but none of it was a problem. So I was able to say, hey, how about this? Could I do this? And the answer was always yes. Yeah, well, the build started very smoothly, and then we got into 2020 and COVID hit. And then, of course, all the supply chains
They hit
problem.
in a major way, didn't they? And
yeah.
we were going, how on earth are we gonna figure out this stuff? The thing that we found so helpful was we go to Keith Hay and we say, here's where we're hit, and it's a nightmare. It's on a boat somewhere on the other side of the world and we don't even know when it's going to get to this side. And they just turn around and go, hey, we'll deal with it. And they did. We found decking timber when no one else in the country could get decking timber, the same with flooring, same with a whole lot of other fittings, and their relationships with suppliers and the amount of time they've been around in the industry. It sort of turned out they were the postman. They turned up and delivered.
So now that we've got our home finished up here, our holiday home, it's definitely changed the way we holiday together with the family. The family have got bedrooms and space to move. My personal favourite is that I can open up the curtains in the morning, make a cup of coffee and sit in bed and look out at the view. And that was one of the things that I'd said to James I wanted to be able to do. And so every time I come up here, I can sit up on my bed, have a cup of coffee or some breakfast or whatever and just enjoy it. So I think it's job well achieved. Even as late as, we're 4 years down the track and I can still contact Mark and say, hey, what was the wooden floor that we got? We've got a scratch on the floor or something. They're just always there to help us out and accommodate. They've got their records, they've got everything there. So we're still relying on Keith Hay 4 years down the track.
As people embark on, a new build journey, I guess you've got to have some idea of what you're wanting to achieve. And everyone's got a list of priorities, and I think if you've got those pretty firmly set, you're really starting well. But that's only one side of the coin. The flip side of that is you've got to then speak to a builder who's prepared to listen and solve essentially the problems or the concepts that you've laid out that you're wanting to achieve. And that's what we found so good with Keith Hay. We went with Keith Hay, and like I said, the postman delivered.